are talking The Devil Below. This one is directed by Bradley Parker. Now, I was kind of reminded mainly of The Descent when I watched this film, but also a little bit of Starship Troopers in a weird way. And now this one stars Will Patton, who's our kind of most recognisable name here. So this focuses on a group of researchers as they are sent to investigate this long abandoned coal mine which is still burning, and they can't find it. It just seems to have disappeared off the map. And the locals seem particularly kind of hostile, trying to kind of keep them away. Eventually they do find it, and one of their members ends up kind of falling in this great vast tunnel which kind of like goes straight down, and a couple of others go to investigate. However, this tunnel seems to be not particularly unoccupied. There is these creatures that are in there that seem to be the reason why there's this secret surrounding this hidden village and coal mine. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. So, first of all, let's talk about what works in this movie. I think the setup here with this kind of this coal mine where this whole area is still kind of burning underneath is particularly kind of creepy, and obviously this is kind of like a phenomena that does happen in kind of real life, and having the kind of the smoke and stuff rising from the ground in kind of certain areas, you know, it does kind of bring up images of hell and things like that, and that's not lost on the filmmakers here, as there is discussion of that. But I think it's a great visual. I think when we see our creatures, their design is a little bit of a mixed bag, but I do like some aspects of it here. We do seem to have a couple of different varieties, and this is kind of where I'll get the Starship Troopers kind of comparison from, because there's elements there that do remind me of that film, without kind of spoiling anything for you. I think Will Patton is a very capable actor who gives an earnest performance in pretty much whatever he's in, despite it sometimes being somewhat schlocky, as this movie is. But nonetheless, I think he sort of grounds the movie in a realism. And I have to say, the opening here, which actually involves Will Patton's character, is very strong and very compelling. I also like the way these creatures are kind of have, and this kind of goes into that Starship Troopers comparison, where they have these kind of a mechanism where they kind of inject you with a kind of a poison to paralyze you. And again, this kind of there's the comparison with The Descent, because they are underground, they hunt by sound, and they're kind of pasty and white and kind of look, you know, they look a little bit like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things in a lot of ways as well, I suppose. And I think the main cast do an okay job. We have a strong, likeable lead female character who I think does a pretty good job here. And I like the fact that the characters seem to be somewhat singular focused in regards to kind of what they are doing. What doesn't work for me? The movie has a big cardinal sin here, and I think it refuses to really show the creatures in all their glory. We get kind of glimpses here and there, and there are scenes where we see them from a distance, or very quick edits and things like this, but it's very frustrating because it seems like the VFX is done, and you know, it's a mix between CGI and some practical work by the looks of it, but it's so frustrating because we never really get to see a proper good look at them. And they look interesting, but I couldn't really, you know, I can only tell you what they look like very briefly compared to, oh, they look a bit like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, because I never really got a great look. The movie has a very bad habit of cutting away or editing in key scenes where people are getting attacked. Very, very frustrating. And there are scenes where we do have, you know, the camera is having a look, an extended look at the creatures, but then we are seeing it through someone's eyes who has been kind of poisoned, so their vision's all kind of blurry. So it's all kind of blurry. It's super frustrating if you're wanting to watch a creature feature, and if this clearly has a reasonable budget to do this kind of scale of film, show the damn monsters. You don't have to show them right from the beginning, but show the damn monsters at least so we can kind of get that. Because it's very hard to give you an accurate description of what they actually look like. In fact, there's the best look that we get of them is actually a drawing of one on a kind of like a pinboard in one of the kind of the townspeople's homes. That is the best look that we will actually get. It's super kind of frustrating. There's a plot point here about the reasons why they are doing this kind of research here in this particular area, and there's a big reveal about this kind of the real reason that they're there. And I'm thinking, is that a big deal? I mean, for the reasons that you're there, it's not necessarily unscrupulous. I don't really understand why this was such a big reveal, because ultimately it doesn't make a big difference. I don't imagine that anyone would not go who was going to go anyway. It's kind of like, that's meant to be some shocking, and it's pretty obvious there was obviously alternate reasons and stuff, but that kind of reveal to me seems a little underwhelming, and it's like, it's not really a massive deal, to be quite honest with you. I think some of the other cast members here seem somewhat stereotypical characters. I mean, they're not bad, they're not badly acted, but they just seem, you know, not particularly well developed. I couldn't really tell you what much of their kind of personalities were like, because we didn't kind of really get to know them all that much. The whole sort of conceit here about the townspeople as well, it seems other things could have been done to have them a better job of keeping strangers out. Let me just kind of say that. So the movie really does feel like a not particularly thought out plot, to be honest with you. It's entertaining. I think the movie goes at a good pace. From what we see of the creatures, they look pretty interesting, but we don't really ever see them. We don't really know much about them, to be honest with you. I mean, if you compare this movie to The Descent, which is its most direct comparison, I mean, you saw plenty of the creatures. You've got an understanding of how they lived, how they hunted, things like that. Even without kind of someone, you know, having an exposition dump, this movie just is nowhere near that. Which is a shame, because it could have been, you know, a comparable movie in a lot of ways, but it just doesn't have that level of storytelling. But it looks like it has a level of production value, which is the most frustrating thing, I think. But it's just not utilised properly. Ultimately, this movie is pretty forgettable, although it's not a bad film. It's watchable, it is well made to a point, but just not well crafted, maybe. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing it next time. Bye for now.